Today I fucked up by fooling around with my girlfriend thinking our friend was asleep. So a few days ago my girlfriend, best friend and I thought it would be a good idea to spend the day together and then stay over at my girlfriend's house. So we get back all tired and we're all sleeping in the same room on the floor. We put on some Netflix but our friend says he'll probably be asleep within 10 minutes. 10 minutes pass and he hasn't moved in a while, hasn't talked and is fully under the blankets. My girlfriend and I kiss goodnight but things escalate quickly because we're risk takers. Anyway we basically start playing until we're both done, and then a few minutes later our friend gets up and goes to the toilet without saying a word. He comes back and clearly knows something is up and generally gives us the side eye. Then he says, "I couldn't sleep, too long did not read." My girlfriend and I thought our friend was asleep while we have each other handjobs. Now I'm expecting to see another post about a roommate who pretended to be asleep and had to listen to his friends fool around. Yoo-hoo. Your first sex for an audience of one. What is your next big challenge? Let's just take a moment and acknowledge friend could have shifted, cleared his throat, got up to pee earlier, yawned, acted like he just woke up, or anything. Nah. He listened to these two get off the entire way then let them know he was awake the whole time. That's just, oh. That's what happens when you behave inappropriately. Hope you guys at least apologized because if that was me I'd die on the spot out of embarrassment. So impolite not to invite him to partake in the activities. Today I fucked up by not wearing a life jacket. We went up to spend the day by a relative who has a cabin on a lake. Was a nice day up in the mountains, a bit overcast and breezy, but overall nice. Got there in early afternoon, kids got in the water, and I decided to take a kayak and go across. Not a huge lake, seems much larger once you're actually in it, but no big deal, right? Most life jackets at the dock were child size. Didn't want to dig through until I found one, and hey, it's a plastic kayak, the kind you sit inside of, so should be fine. Dumb, I know. So I dig the oar in and shoot across the lake. Took quite a bit longer than I thought it would, but made it just fine, though I worked much harder than I anticipated. Return trip across was slower, but went well. Was kinda worn out at that point, so took a break. Decided to go across again for some dumb reason I can't figure out. About halfway across the wind started picking up and the water getting really choppy. My arms and shoulders were not happy with me and I took a break in the middle, riding the chop. I noticed the front of the kayak starting to point upward, which is weird. I turned around and the back of the kayak was completely underwater. I tried pulling as hard as I could towards the shore, but after about 2 minutes, the entire thing was underwater and I was outside it, holding onto it. The shore looked really far away once I was in the water. Tried swimming for it, but my arms and shoulders were dead weight at that point and I knew I would never make it, especially with the water so choppy. Turned around to the kayak, which had now overturned, and held on. I could not put any weight on it, whenever I tried, it just went under. Yelled as loud as I could. But the adults on the other side were busy with the kids who were making a lot of noise, and nobody heard a thing. After what seems like an hour of yelling, probably 15 minutes in reality, someone heard me from the opposite shore, took out their little outboard, and here I am. It got really scary there for a few minutes. Too long did not read. Didn't wear a life jacket and almost didn't make it. Wear a life jacket, folks. Glad you're okay. That's a mistake you'll never repeat. In motorcycling you dress for the slide, not the ride. Can't think of a good rhyme for the same thing on the water. Dress for the float, 'cause you might lose your boat? Grin. After that title I thought they found a way to have phones in heaven. Learn to float. Everyone gets tired, floating patiently will help you to survive in the future. Once you catch your breath, you can resume swimming. So swimming is the second thing you gotta learn. Good luck. I didn't read anything other than the title, so I'm just going to assume this post is coming from your watery grave. RIP. I've pulled too many dead from lakes with no life jackets. But if I write a ticket for it I get called an asshole. Glad you made it back and won't do it again. Today I fucked up by accidentally throwing away my community service evidence. I am currently a senior in high school. The actual FU occurred in late August, but the realization that I did what I did happened yesterday. Where I live, I need 20 hours of community service to graduate. I had about 8 hours done so far, sounds great, right? Almost halfway there. For community service to count towards my graduation requirement, I needed to fill out a few sheets of paper. Just things that can verify I actually did the stuff, Like where I did it and what did learn from it. The most important thing on those sheets are the signatures I had to get. I had 4 sheets of paper so far, 2 of them had 1 hour each, one had 2.5 hours, and the last one had 4 hours on it. I've been holding on to some of these sheets since the summer after 8th grade when I could start working towards the requirement. I decided that I was gonna turn these papers in this year, since they need to be turned in before I graduate. I put them in an old folder from last year's school year and put the folder in my backpack, thinking, I won't need to remember where I put it if it's by my school stuff. Here's the foo. My parents bought me some new school supplies the middle of August, including new folders. I decided that I don't need the crappy yellow folder in my backpack anymore since I have new ones now. I threw that folder into the garbage without checking if anything important was inside it. I didn't realize at the time, but I had just lost 6 hours of community service the moment my parents took the garbage out. Cut to yesterday. I was catching up with an old friend and I had a counselor meeting to go to about community service. We started talking about community service and I remembered I have my slips in my backpack. Or so I thought. I look for the old yellow folder and it's nowhere to be seen. I soon realize I tossed it out weeks ago and that there was no saving those hours I lost. TLDR. I got new school supplies and didn't check what was in my folder before throwing it away. Lost 6 hours of community service towards my graduation requirement. Edit. Thank you to everyone who is giving me advice. I know this isn't a traditional major foo, but it was a foo nonetheless. I'm currently searching for opportunities and will check in at all the types of places you guys recommended. IDK if I understand how that requirement works, but can't you just go to those places and have them reissue the paperwork? Google volunteer near me, in your city, and you'd be amazed at what you find. My family does about 100 hours a year per person. You'll mail that up in a couple Saturdays in no time. As much as it sucks now, try to learn the lesson when it only costs you those 8 hours. My wife is horrible about throwing away random stacks of paper, envelopes, anything that looks like it might be trash. So far she has thrown away important snail mail, her driver's license, a few debit, credit cards, prescriptions, back when they were still paper doctor's notes, and once even her social security card, but we were able to realize that one in time and dig it out. Just get in the habit of looking through things before you throw them out. It will save you a lot of trouble in the long run. Today I fucked up by telling my colleague about a new hire. We've been short-staffed for a while now and it's just been getting worse. We really need frontline staff, but our boss has been struggling too because of the lack of underlings. I guess the boss figured they needed to get their ducks in a row because they have hired a manager before turning to someone for the day-to-day. They have hired someone externally for this role. I only found out by accident and most other people think this new person is coming in at the same level as us. They are due to start in a couple of weeks and I know their true title won't be announced until the 11th hour, if not the 13th. I told one of my other coworkers earlier because I knew they would be particularly upset by this hire and thought they should know on a personal level, regardless of whether or not I think the role should be filled and by whom. I understand business is business, but I also understand that people don't work just for the mortgage money. To cut a long story short, my coworker has decided to resign and I feel awful. They made it seem that they'd been thinking about it anyway, but I made their decision easier. Maybe I've helped one person figure their life out, but at the expense of the rest of my team who I love and don't deserve this stress. Too long did not read. Told a colleague that our new hire is actually going to be a manager and now they are resigning. That doesn't sound like your fuck up. Today I fucked up because the boss fucked a fellow employee over? Dude was going to quit whether it came from you or your boss. This certainly isn't on you. If anything, you have him the chance to get a head start on his job search. The only fuck up here is your boss's. Your coworker would have found out the new person was going to be a manager soon enough anyway. Not your foo. They genuinely should have just promoted one of y'all. I also understand that people don't work just for the mortgage money. Yeah, I need to eat too.